The movie opens in 2058 with the United Global Space Force searching for a habitable planet to colonize. The Hypergate was their best hope to colonize space for survival, until a terrorist group called the Global Sedition sent two armed fighters to destroy the under-construction Hypergate and kill one of the pilots. But the other one managed to destroy the enemy fighters and make it to Earth safely. The scene then shifts to Earth, where we meet the Robinson family. In an effort to save humanity, the United Global Space Force sends Professor John Robinson and his family on the spaceship Jupiter 1 to complete the construction of a hypergate over the planet Alpha Prime. This will allow the population of Earth to be instantly transported. We then meet Professor Robinson's family. His wife, Maureen, loves and supports him on the mission, but his teenage daughter Penny rebels by breaking curfew. John also has a young prodigy son called Will. Will is a smart kid and even won a prize for his science experiments involving time travel, but the children don't feel appreciated enough by their busy father. We then meet Dr. Smith, the mission's medical expert, as he's being bribed by the Global Sedition to sabotage the mission and reprogram the robot to destroy the Robinson family and fail the mission once again. The scene changes to the spaceship, where John is welcoming the pilot, Major Don, aboard. Don was the other pilot who led the previous Jupiter mission. John shows him around, and his eyes catch a beautiful blonde doctor. He hits on her, not knowing that she's also John's daughter, Judy. Next, we see Smith sneaking into the spaceship to set up the robots. He successfully automates the robot into destroying mode, but as he was leaving, the man from the Global Sedition group betrays him and tried to electrify him, leaving him unconscious. The spaceship is prepared for launch, and the Robinson family freezes themselves into a tube for the ride. Their captain, Don, tells them he'll try to give them a smooth ride, and the ship blasts off into space. Don, as the atmosphere gets heavy, he freezes himself too. Meanwhile, Smith wakes up from his blackout and finds himself on the spaceship that he's set to be destroyed. Terrified, he tries to disable the program he had commanded, but the robot does not obey the cancellation. The robot activates and starts to shoot everything on the spaceship, causing the navigation and guidance systems to malfunction. The family then protects themselves by shooting right at the robot. However, the machine overtakes the lead and almost destroys the Jupiter mission until a smart boy shows up and deactivates it with a voice command. As things calm down and the ship stabilizes, Smith wounds himself intentionally to show himself as the victim. But Don sees him immediately and asks what he's doing there. But Smith lies to him by telling him he was doing last-minute checks. But not long after, Don sees signs of the sedition technology on Smith's hand and realizes that he's working for the terrorist group. As he was confronting and hitting Smith, he got called for help, and Smith went along with him. It turns out that the sabotage from the robot's altered program causes the ship to veer towards the sun. Meanwhile, the family pulls Judy out of the freezer and tries to bring her back to life. There, we see Dr. Smith putting himself to use and helping the lady regain her consciousness. It turns out that Judy's body was overwhelmed by the cold during the high altitude. He manages to bring her to life, but is still considered a threat by the crew. The captain and professor try to control the direction of the ship away from the sun, but when they realize that it'd be impossible to escape the sun's pull at such close range, they decide to fly through the sun using the ship's hyperdrive. But unfortunately, without a hypergate to warp to, the ship and its crew end up in a random part of the galaxy. John then checks on his family to make sure that they're safe. There, he sees the betrayer, Smith. He grabs him by the neck, thinking to kill him, but stops himself when he sees his family behind him. He keeps him on the ship, but locked in a room. The crew then gathers together to navigate their location and realizes that they're actually in the middle of nowhere. This is a major opportunity to get to know Judy. Judy, being the doctor that she is, runs a checkup on Don, and the duo seems to be interested in one another. In the following scene, the Robinsons discover a hole in space, which they presume is a hole into the future. There, they encounter Proteus, an Earth ship from the future. Thinking that they could find a way to navigate home, the crew decides to go in Proteus. Don also goes to the prisoner, Smith, and tells him that he's coming along too. John then goes to Kid's smart son, Will, and says his goodbye since the trio is going alone to explore. Will then tells his father that he reprogrammed the previous robot into a machine that works with remote controls. This way, he'll be able to control it from here. But John doesn't seem to express his appreciation enough. After that, the professor and his crew descend into the abandoned ship that they found and start to explore its insides while the remaining members await them on their ship. Unfortunately, the ship is infested with a jelly-like liquid and eggs seem to be hatching on the wall. The crew came across a lost civilization that's covered with colorful vegetation. Don discovers a creepy red creature there, but it means no harm to them, so Don takes it under its arms, keeping it. They then attempt to download the information that's left on the former abandoned ship, while the eggs on the upper part of the wall start to hatch. Before they know it, what was once eggs now turns into carnivorous, cannibalistic, spider-like life forms. The creatures start to chase them, and to their disappointment, the doors on the destroyed ship malfunction and close upon them. This is when we see the captain begin to fight against the alien spiders. He continues to shoot at them as John attempts to fix the doors and get the crew out of the danger. One of them scratches Dr. Smith as they try to escape, and Don overloads the Proteus engine's holes with fire, destroying the ship and annihilating the spiders. Nevertheless, their ship, Jupiter 2, is damaged by the explosion's shockwave, and they crash land on a neighboring planet. Professor John was not pleased with Don's conduct though, and the two got into an argument about what had happened. Maureen then threatens to give them both a warning to stop being so self-centered. Meanwhile, the coward Smith didn't seem to learn his lessons, as he still tries to go behind their back again. There, we catch a glimpse of his wound, spreading from the spider bite that he had gotten. Penny also seems to connect with the creepy creature that they found on the ship. It turns out that the creature is a child and was abandoned there. The mysterious planet is inhabitable by humans, so the crew decides to stay on the ship. Maureen then informs John that she has located a fuel source with which to refuel the damaged engines of the Jupiter 2. John tells her to take the daybreak, and the crew sleep for the night. The next morning, the team gathered to discuss their next move. The planet they landed on is experiencing an earthquake, so they should refuel their ship as soon as they can and leave for home. However, the energy they located lies in the center of a strange growing bubble of mysterious origin. Will theorizes that they're distortions of time, as his experiment predicted, but John ignores his input and dismisses him easily. The next scene showcases the ladies as they repair the ship, and Will tries to rebuild his robot. There, Don shows up and tries to make up with his son before leaving. He gave Will his chain to keep it for him, but Will doesn't want his father to leave. Soon after, Professor Robinson and Major Don went out to explore the mysterious bubble. There, they discover that it's actually an area of time distortion, where alternate future versions of Dr. Smith and Will have constructed a time machine powered by their Jupiter 2's power core. The adult has built an advanced civilization, and this time he tells his dad that he was right all along. Meanwhile, the locked Dr. Smith manipulates the little Will that he wants to help his dad come back and convinces him to set him free. Will then snuck Smith out of the ship unnoticed. As they headed towards the bubble, Smith seems to be afraid to enter the bubble, but when he does, he notices a tombstone of the woman on the ship and immediately understands that the bubble is the future timeline. He then somehow manages to keep the little Will captive and use the incident to his advantage. On the other side, we see the future grown-up Will, who wants to use the core to go back to the day that they left Earth and stop the launch, since in his future, his father left and never returned, and the women were killed by the spiders on the Proteus. Upon arriving where the professor and the captain are, the coward Smith threatens to shoot if they interfere, and he immediately reprograms the future robot to take over the time machine. The robot starts to apply the command that he has been given and begins to shoot everything around it, until he gets to know and remember him. Will manages to reason with the robot and reminds him of the goodness he has programmed into it. We then have a glimpse of the future, speaking with the future Dr. Smith, who's transformed into a giant space spider-human hybrid as a result of the wound that he received on the Proteus. He was the one to kill the woman and keep Will alive long enough to build the time machine. He then reveals his plan to go back in time to Earth before Jupiter 2 lifts off, destroys the ship, and conquers the planet to spread his spider race across the Earth. Adult Will, terrified by the revelation, tells the giant Smith that he can't be part of the destruction and only wants to get to his family. Smith throws him into the portal, but he manages to hang on the cliff. After that, Robinson appears and tells Smith that he should have killed him when he had the chance. He battles with Spider-Man, and with the help of a dagger that the younger Will made for him, John wounds and cuts open the egg sac within his body. To his luck, the species of spiders eat their own wounds, so this causes the egg sacs to crawl out and consume Spider-Smith. John then tells him evil always finds its true form and sends him into the time machine force field, killing him. John then sees the older woman hanging on a tube on the verge of falling into the magnetic field of the portal. He saves him and tells him that he'll never leave his boy behind, and he will finally feel seen by his father. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew attempts to escape, but it seems the time bubble has made the planet unstable, and it is violently breaking apart. Back on the ground, we see that without the core material, the ship still does not have enough power to reach escape velocity. So the stranded John Robinson watches his family and Jupiter 2 hit by the debris exploding in the sky. John then grieves over his family because he wasn't there to save them. Future Will sees this and realizes his father does indeed love his family, so he chooses to help him rather than taking the core material from the time machine and escaping. He then reprograms the time machine and sends John through it. This caused John to be taken back to the ship several hours before it exploded. Upon reaching the ship through the portal, rather than attempt to escape into the atmosphere, John commands Major Dawn to pilot the ship through the planet's core as it's breaking up. This made it possible for them to drive the ship through the opposite side using the planet's gravity. His plan works, and they manage to flee, but their ship is soon sucked into a tiny black hole created by the fallen planet. Then, Major Dawn successfully pilots them across the collapsing and soon to explode planet using his exceptional skills. The movie comes to an end as we see the Robinson family settling in comfort, for they are finally safe from all the dangers. Judy also gives a kiss to Major Dawn as a reward and promises future endeavors just for the two of them next time. Wow, now that movie kept you on your toes. Did it end like you were expecting? Or did everything that you expected from this movie just completely twist into something totally different? Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to see another movie recap, then make sure you click this video that's on screen now. And hey, if you want to keep seeing more awesome sci-fi movie recaps, then make sure you subscribe to our channel for more movie recaps to your inbox. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.